What's up? This is Neena Perez, and this is Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Thank you so much for being here. I created this show for you, finding the best humans on the planet to grow, challenge, and transform your thinking. Let's do this. I found a really cool dude. I was talking to him a couple of weeks ago. Really enjoyed our conversation. So I said, you got to come on here and talk to our people because I have an amazing audience. His name is Justin, and he's a mental health advocate. He's an author, an inspirational speaker, a professional executive coach. And I love that he puts this on his bio, but he's also a loving husband and a father of two amazing kids. And so, Justin, thank you for being here, man. It's really nice to see you again. How are you?
I'm doing well, and it's great to finally connect with you. I know we had a couple of hiccups there, but we made it work and found a time to be able to share this space together.
100%. And you know what? It's always when I always feel like when the hiccups come, it's because it's going to be an impactful conversation. I never see them as a bad thing, right? So I'm glad you're hanging out.
Yeah, no,
how are you
thanks
doing?
for having me.
How's life? How's your day going today? Pretty good.
Day's going very good, actually. I took my kid to swimming lessons, then we hit up a little bowling, did a little crazy bowling when we got out there. And I think I'm better at laying on my stomach bowling than actual bowling, I found out.
That's fun. So, Justin, I want to get into a conversation about all the great things that you're doing right now with with your book and your business and all of that. But before we get into that, I do want to know a little bit more about you. So let our audience know who Justin is.
Well, my name is Justin Brien. I'm a mental health advocate, an inspirational speaker, a transformational coach. I'm an author of the best-selling book, Chasing Shadows, Fighting the Monster Within, which takes a deep dive into my life surrounding my mental health, my depression, anxiety, suicidal ideation, recovery, becoming sober. But also it's different because it's not just a biography. At the end of every chapter, there is questions for you to answer, thought-provoking questions that, if you're a coach, you get that mind thinking to get people to, explore different avenues in their lives. But it also has learning lessons. So I put that book into 3 different parts. There's during alcohol, after alcohol, and then learning lessons where, I talk about the human needs, how to make lasting change, support network, and all that kind of stuff, because I wanted it to be kind of a how-to book, but also my story, right? But I wanted to be more than just a story. So I kind of entangled all that I've learned throughout my coaching and life lessons.
Did you ever think, and I want to hear about your story. So when you were going through all of that, when you look at yourself today, did you ever think you would be here when you were going through all that? Yeah.
Absolutely not. Well, there's 2 things I didn't think. So I actually say this in my keynote speech is, if you were to say, Justin, you're going to be depressed. Justin, you're going to be suicidal. Justin, you're going to be addicted to drugs, addicted to alcohol. I would have looked at you and I would have laughed. And I would have laughed because I didn't listen. And I didn't listen because I thought I was invincible. And I thought I was invincible because I thought I was too smart. However, my life led me to where I am today. Now, unfortunately, I went through a path, 6 years of being suicidal. So I didn't think I'd actually make it this far. There was actually a time in my life where I actually became an organ donor. I walked into the DMV to say, hey, I want to be an organ donor. And I remember the lady looking at me and saying, oh, that's just incredible. And I just remember thinking, I want to become an organ donor because I want to donate my body. I actually felt so low about myself that I wanted to give. And I was actually preparing my body to, give it away. And so if you'd asked me if I thought I'd ever be here, no. I never thought I'd be coach. I never thought I'd be a speaker. I never thought I'd be a mental health advocate. And my life's experiences has led me to what I'm doing today. And I wouldn't change it. And right. I'd change some of my decisions and my actions, absolutely. But I wouldn't change the dark days, the lonely nights, and the things that I've witnessed or gone through, because I get to do what I do now, and I get to hopefully inspire and encourage people to ask for help, to live their lives, and just to really love themselves.
Yeah. Let's go. Do you mind if we touch on those things? Do you mind if we go back a little bit? Okay. Let's touch on that, because I like talking about real things, right? So, and I also know that we're talking to a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of leaders, a lot of people who are going through stuff or have gone through stuff. And so it's always good to like have real tangible conversations where people can really connect with who you are, Justin. But I want to know about that, because I know that none of us get to where we are right now without going through some stuff, right? So when you talk about what you've been through, what is that? And I heard you say alcohol. I heard you say depression. I heard you say, suicidal ideation. So tell me about that. What happened there?
Well, growing up, I dealt with low self-esteem, low self-worth, and low self-confidence to where I didn't really have to. I had people that liked me. I was athletic. I had good grades in school. I had family that loved me. But I was a late bloomer. I was smaller than a lot of people. And, I always compared myself to other people. I wanted to be everybody else but me. So that really made me feel pretty low. And I actually always act out and try to be the funny man and tell jokes, and so I could get people to notice me and people to like me. Now, I didn't drink much in high school, but when I got out of high school, I found what drinking gave me. It gave me self-esteem, gave me self-worth, gave me self-confidence, really transformed me into a person that I thought was, the cool Justin, the Justin that mattered, the Justin that was funny. So I quickly became, almost an alcoholic right away. And I moved away to play junior hockey. I was living on my own, and I found drinking. And I don't think it was junior hockey that did it for me. It was just, I was finally on my own. Right. And I finally started drinking. And then by the time I was 21, I was drinking pretty much every single day, bartending in Vancouver.
Wow.
And to where a bartender came up to me, he's like, Justin, can I ask you something? I said, sure, man. He said, do you think you drink too much? And I looked at him and I said, no. And I brushed him off because I didn't listen to anybody, right? Because I thought I knew what I knew everything at that point.
Yeah. At 21, Justin, we always think we know everything.
Yeah. Jeez. So that night I ended up walking home after work because, actually I'd close the bar down within 15, 20 minutes. Like I was a really good bartender. I could get my cash done, everything stocked, wiped and out within 15 minutes, but I could do that because I need to get out and drink. And on my way home, I'd actually phone up Dial-A-Ball so I could have more alcohol waiting for me when I got home.
Wow.
Now, when I was walking across the Canopy Street Bridge in Vancouver that night, a thought went through my head and it says, Justin, do you drink too much? And I was like, there's no way I drink too much. I'm young. I like to have fun. I'm in this big, beautiful city, and I'm a bartender. Right? If you don't know where Vancouver is, it's right on the West Coast. It's right on the ocean. Nightlife is amazing. The views are amazing. And I was living life then. So I said, no. So I take a couple more steps, and all of a sudden my own voice rings through my head. It says, Justin, are you an alcoholic? And I actually said this word for word. There's no way I'm an alcoholic. I go to work. I pay my bills. I'm not a lowlife, and I am too smart to be an alcoholic. Now, I was so smart, in fact, that year I graduated from alcohol abuse to drug abuse. At 24, I did coke for the very first time. And I didn't remember the night. So I phoned up my buddy and asked him what happened. And he told me. But then he said something to me that you probably shouldn't say to a person with my mindset. He's like, man, you funny last night. Well, right then and there it clicked. I have alcohol for confidence. I have drugs to be funny. I got Michael's special juice from Space Jam. One shot of this, and I'm super Justin. I can tell you, I'm the only one that's of my friends that thought I was super Justin. But if you fast forward 6 months down the road, I ended up moving back home to a small town, my hometown, Salmon Arm, British Columbia, Canada, and I started managing at a nightclub. And I needed to get a ride home that night because of I lost my license for drinking and driving. And on the way home, it was a story of my life. I didn't really get my full license again until I was about 28 years old.
Wow.
So wow.
And you also set yourself up. You also set yourself up in an interesting way, right? Because you were also bartending, nightclubbing. Like you really made your surroundings help you with this addiction.
Oh, and that's, when you're in addiction, you want to surround yourself with those people because then you're not the odd one out, right? You're not the black sheep. Or I was the black sheep because I had many different friends from different walks of life, but I bartended because, I liked it. I was good at it. It was fun and it was easy and I made good money. So I put myself there. I had it readily available wherever I was.
Yeah. I mean, and let's be real, right? You're young, you're working in these places, you get to drink, you get to do all of that. So who sees the problem? It's too convenient. It's too convenient.
but I did see a problem. So when I asked myself, Justin, are you an alcoholic? I said no, but I knew deep down.
Mm-hmm.
But this is the thing, is that if you admit something to yourself, you acknowledge it, then you have to change it.
Right.
Because if you don't change it, you're going to live in guilt and shame. And I like to tell people about my 3 A's. First, you have to admit the problem. Then you have to accept it internally. And then you got to ask for help. So, you know, I moved back home, and, you know, me and my buddy started talking about the topic of depression on the way home when I got a ride that night. And I looked at him. So what do I know about depression? Well, this is like 14 years ago, 15 years ago. And I looked at him, I'm like, you know what, man? Depression is an excuse. Depression is for the weak. You gotta suck it up. You gotta go to work, and you gotta pay your bills. Now, 24 years old, I'm ignoring 2 major problems: my mental health and my substance use. So it wasn't until 4 years later that I finally did the first step of my 3 A's. I finally admitted to myself, Justin, you know what? You're depressed. Justin, you know what? You abuse substances. Okay, well, now what? Now what do I got to do? Well, I had to accept it internally that it was negatively impacting my life, and I needed to eliminate it, the substances, and work on it, my mental health. Okay, well, cool. Well, what do you got to do next? Well, you have to ask for help. And boy, did I ever ask for help. I've been to over 100 doctor's appointments. I've spent 77 days in rehab away from my family, 45 addiction appointments, 19 psychologists, 10 psychiatrists, and I've tried 8 different meds, from antidepressants to ADHD to bipolar meds to anger to sleeping pills. But one of the biggest things that I found, the one why. But the why I'll talk to you. The why is the one thing that helped me make the change, helped me stay motivated. And it's one of the things that can help people do a lot of things, is finding the why behind the reason, right? But I asked for help, but the help wasn't working. Help wasn't working because I didn't really accept that I had a problem.
Right.
So when I went 1 month, 2 months, 3, 9 months sober, you know, I would see somebody else drinking, and I'd be like, well, if you can do it, I can do it. I'm just as smart as you. I still have that negative attitude, the negative outlook that if you can do it, I can do it. I mean, I still believe that if someone can do something, I can do it. I might not be able to do it to the same version as them, but I'll definitely try. But I was looking at it in the negative way, right? So then I wanted to lead to 2, to lead to 3, and all of a sudden I'm blacked out, and I missed time at work. Or when I felt better, I'd stop taking my medication. I'd stop going to my counseling appointments. I'm like, I don't need you. I can do this alone. So the help wasn't working. You know, I was very fortunate that.
Well, let's back up. The help was working. Justin wasn't working.
Justin was, yeah, absolutely. You know what? I wasn't working with the help.
Right. Because I think they were trying. That's a lot of appointments for them not to be working. And I think that's, you know, that's another deflection that we do, right? Like when we really should be checking ourselves, and we see that you probably even go through this now with some of your clients or people you speak to. They have to be invested. They have to be invested, or it's not going to work, right? And that's the experience that you had. Like, unless you're 1,000% invested, it's not going to work. It's just not, right? Because we only do what we really want to do, right? So that's a lot of appointments, Justin. Whew. Goodness gracious.
Well, you know, I wanted to get better. I really did, but I had that hard time of finding that self-love for myself.
Yeah.
That made it worth it. I had a hard time coping without alcohol. See, I started drinking at 18 years old, right? And, you know, and I was also a late bloomer. So my brain didn't start developing until a little bit later, around 16, 17, when I finally started to grow. 2 years later, I'm drinking a lot, right?
Right.
And then all of a sudden by 19, 20, 21, I'm an alcoholic. I'm still growing, right? Going through all my changes and punishing my brain.
Yeah.
So I did it for 16 years. 16 years. I used alcohol or drugs to cope. I used to have conversations. I used it to leave my house. I ended up using it to actually even play hockey, play any sports. I needed it, or I thought I needed it, right? To hang out with people. I'd actually have an algorithm of how many drinks I would have before I even left my house, to go hang out with even friends. And then when I'm having a conversation with them at their table, if my self-worth starts to drop, I'm feeling uncomfortable. I'm like, okay, well, a couple more shots, right? all of a sudden, okay, I had a couple more shots. But it's that placebo effect of having those 2 shots that's actually what I thought brought out the real me.
And you know what, Justin, I mean, you work with this is what your space is in. And one thing that I realize is that that's where any of us, and that's why people can't judge. This is where any of us can get caught up, right? When even as an adult, I've spoken to adult women because I speak mostly to women in my coaching group and things like that. And I've spoken to adult women in their 30s and 40s who have now gotten an abuse of drugs or drinking, or, you know, that they've never had it all their lives. All of a sudden they realize they needed it to take the edge off. Then they needed it to have a hard conversation. Then they needed it to deal with this, and they need it. And before you know it, it's an everyday thing, not a every other day, not a once on the weekend or once in a while. It's just so easy for every one of us to get into that space. It just is, right? And so when you just came to, and you were, what clicked? What was it? What finally said, Justin, okay, enough is enough. You know, let's do something. What was that moment? Do you remember it?
Yeah, I 100% remember it. But it was a couple steps that took to get to that point. So I was dating this girl, but we broke up because I was drinking too much, right? And I just, my life, I couldn't get it together. But we still kept in touch. We were still in love, and we hung out a couple times. Then one day she phones me and says, Justin, I'm pregnant. She's like, you can be in this child's life, or you don't have to, but I'm keeping it. And I said, no, I absolutely want to be in this child's life. So then we got back together, and, you know, I started to have a couple days sober, but then all of a sudden I'd go back on my binging, and then I got in a car accident. I was like, oh. So I went to rehab for the first time. And when I got out of rehab, you know, where I just spent 35 days away from my pregnant girlfriend, the first thing I said was, I'm not done drinking forever. Well, you can probably guess what happened. 1 month later, we have 2 months later, I started hitting the bottle again, making poor decisions. 6 months after that, my girlfriend had to make a tough decision of her life and leave me at my lowest point with our son. And I don't blame her for that. You know, I was in no shape to have a kid around. Now, I just went on a dark spiraling path. And I was very fortunate that around that time.
Hey there, my amazing community of straight talkers. I just wanted to give a quick announcement because I wanted to introduce you to a transformative life coaching program that I have made exclusively for women. I want them to break free from shame and embrace their true potential so that they can build that life and business that they have always wanted. Now, our transformational coaching will guide you. We will help you. We will uncover your passion, your goals, and will develop your roadmap to success. Visit me at neenaperez.com, and you can join an amazing community of women that are on the same trajectory as you, because I want you to create that life and business you deserve and transcend that shame and unwanted behaviors. So don't wait any longer. Visit neenaperez.com and let's embark on this journey together. Now back to the show.
I started to listen to motivational speaking, and a lot of these speakers had one thing in common: is find your why. So I started to ask myself, well, Justin, what is your why? What is your why that's going to drive you and motivate you to get better? What is your why that's going to pick you up when you fall down? And I started to look at that little boy, and I started to reframe my thoughts instead of, you know, what if I end it so he's a better dad? To what if I get better so I can become that dad? I knew I could become. I knew that there was goodness in me. I knew there was greatness in me. I knew what kind of person I could become. I think that is another part that really helped me, is I know the person I can be. So I made my son my why that day. Now, a lot of people are going to say you have to do it for yourself, and you should. But I know a lot of guys like me, especially in rehab, we needed a reason to find it. Why was something else. But I'm going to tell you something about finding your why. If it's not you, which hopefully it is one day, if you make it someone else, it's eventually going to come back on you. See, I got better for the kid, which got better for me, and then now I can actually help other people. So with that, I ended up going back to rehab. And in rehab, I went with the power of why. So instead of, Justin, instead of quitting the substance, I asked myself, why do you drink? Well, I'm depressed. Why are you depressed? Well, I have low self-esteem, low self-worth, low self-confidence. Why do you have that? Well, it's because I didn't learn how to deal with my operating system, my mental health. Now in rehab, they start to teach you things. They don't worry about the substance either. They worry about the why. The why do you use? How are you going to get better? So in rehab, they taught us the how. Well, some things on the how, right? They talked about journaling, like getting your feelings out is getting them out of your head is half the battle. Gratitude, starting your day and ending your day off with something that you're grateful for in your life, can rewire your brain for happiness, as long as it's done consistently. And if you're having a hard time with it, make sure you attach a feeling to it. Right? Anyone can say, I'm grateful for this. But when you actually attach a feeling to it, something you don't have, something you have today and you don't have it tomorrow, then it can help you a lot. But one of the biggest things I learned, which I also learned in coaching, was the power of acceptance and forgiveness, and how acceptance and forgiveness is actually for us. Now, there are going to be times in your life where you get hurt. It could be an event, an experience. You could lose a loved one or somebody that hurts you.
Mm-hmm.
What you're going to have to do is accept it. It doesn't mean you have to like it. It doesn't mean you have to agree with it, but you have to accept it because you have to forgive it. And you have to forgive it so that you can move on and stop living in your past and create your future. Now, when it comes to forgiveness and somebody hurting you, they don't even have to know, right? They told us,
right.
Like, you got to forgive that person for you. They don't even have to know about it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the thing about acceptance and forgiveness is, and for a guy like me, is that there are things that I had to accept that I did.
Right. I was going to get there. Yeah.
Was myself. Mm-hmm. And that was one of the hardest things. And it wasn't until about 8 months ago that or 6 months ago that I truly, finally accepted my actions and myself and forgave myself for the things that I did. So I went to got out of rehab. I was feeling great. And then all of a sudden I stopped doing my coping mechanisms. I stopped going to my counseling and I started drinking again. And then on January 1st, I ended up phoning my boss and quitting. No idea that I even talked to him. And then I found myself on January 4th, waking up with a hangover in my basement suite, shades drawn, super dark in my house, looking around at my kid's picture, looking at his toys, looking at his hockey stick on the floor, saying to myself, Justin, you have two options. You can go get help or you can end it. And I started to picture him growing up without me. And it broke my heart. So I phoned my mom and I said, Mom, you need to take me to the hospital. So that she came and picked me up, took me to the hospital, and with my dad to my left of me and my mom in front of me and my counselors on my right, I finally admitted the words out loud that I said, if I'm going to continue to feel the way that I feel, that I had a plan, and that plan was to end it. Now, by saying those words out loud in front of the people that I desperately wanted to scream it at for 6 years, because every time they asked me, I just looked at them in the face and I said no. Every time my counselor, every time my doctor asked me, I said no, never do that. I didn't want to tell anybody in the beginning because I didn't want to lose my son.
Right.
But I finally said it, and it was like a weight lifted off my shoulder. And since I was living underneath my mom, I got to go home later that day. And ever since January 4th, 2019, I've been sober. I've gotten back together with the mother of my children. Now we were their baby girl. We are now married. I became a coach, speaker, and an author. And when you say, can you imagine yourself being here? I never would have guessed I'd write a book on substance and mental health.
I love it.
Recovery and stuff, but it was definitely
congratulations on the entire journey, and then being open and honest about it, because that's what's going to help people, right? You have to be authentic about where you've been and also about how hard the journey is, because it's not an overnight thing. I've had alcoholism in a lot in my family, grandfather, uncles, stepfather, things like that. And drug abuse as well in my family. I always had like this innate thing in me to not go those routes because I seen the damage that they did, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen. I remember there was a moment in time where me and my husband were drinking like maybe 4 days out of the week, 4 or 5 days out of the week. I'm like, this is a lot, but it wasn't until like a couple months in, I said, hold on, I'm getting nervous because every day I come home, I just want a gin and tonic. Like that's not kosher. We got to change this. And we did, right? So we're social. We go out, I don't know, maybe twice a month and maybe we'll have a drink. But the whole point is that this can happen to anyone. So I say that because those who are listening to you right now, Justin, listening to this conversation, I don't want shame to be the driving force in their life, right? Because people feel ashamed that they drink a little much, or people feel ashamed. They don't want to tell anybody. Listen, speak the truth. The truth will set you free. And just like Justin, he just alluded to and just said that the minute that he actually spoke out of his mouth that he wanted to end it, a weight was lifted. Why? Because truth was spoken, right, Justin? And let me ask you this now. So you're at a point right now, you are married, you got your babies. It's been a few years now. What do you do every day to not be the old Justin? What do you do to keep yourself where you are today?
You know, I got a couple things that I do that are really prominent for me. Journaling used to be my big thing, but I actually have a gratitude partner. Mm-hmm. So another guy and we text each other every single day what we're grateful for. And at the end of the day, we do affirmations. But I also, the gym, exercise has become my biggest antidepressant. When I go to the gym, you know, you release those reward chemicals, your happy chemicals, your motivation chemicals, but I like to listen to books. I like to listen to podcasts of people like me who struggled and what they did to get better. And I like to listen to motivational speaking. I call it my learn and grow. Mm-hmm. But it feels so good because I can go there and I literally unplug. I unplug to plug in. I don't like to really talk.
So good.
If I can.
Yeah.
But those two have been my biggest things. And now that I've incorporated gratitude into my life, you know, I find myself getting into that unconscious gratitude or subconscious gratitude where it just shows up, not making that effort to do it. It just all of a sudden it's there. And that is one of the greatest feelings. I remember when I struggled, I'd find this happiness, but then I'd be scared because I was like, how long is this going to last? Is it going to be like half an hour? And I would be happy. And I'm like, okay, when's it going to leave? And then all of a sudden I'm sad again because I knew it wasn't going to last. Mm-hmm, but I made it not last. I conjured that. Like, I thought it wouldn't last. You know, I put that belief in my head that, okay, if you're happy, you don't deserve it, it's going to go.
Right. It's a worthy thing. Right.
Now it just comes to me. I mean, don't get me wrong. You know, I was diagnosed with clinical depression, which is major depression, anxiety. I still have social anxiety. And even as a life coach or a transformational coach, I still have social anxiety. Right,
because you're still human at the end of the day. Yeah.
I get awkward, but that's okay. I've accepted that I can be an awkward person. But I still can struggle, and I have a counselor. If I struggle too much and I can't get myself out, I'll reach out my hand for him to grab it, and I'm not ashamed of it.
Good. So are you working with men and women right now, or just men, or what does your coaching practice look like?
I work with men and women. And I'm not
both. Good.
Yeah. It's just whoever wants to transform their lives. I'm not a sobriety coach. I'm not a mental health coach. I'm just whoever wants to transform. I do know a lot about sobriety and mental health, but people work with me for 12 weeks, and we go through that transformation. We go through the self-limiting beliefs, self-confidence, developing a routine, really breaking down those barriers and moving towards that desired future that they want. And it's really cool. I remember one lady I worked with on week 6, she started to cry because she found her self-worth. And that I'll never forget. I'm like, I thought I said something wrong, and I'm sitting there, I'm like, oh man, what happened? What did I do? Did I do something wrong? She's like, no, I finally found my worth. And I was like, oh, jeez.
Don't you love that? Oh, I love that so much. I love that so much, Justin. I love that so much. And I love that you're doing that. So what is the book about? Give me the title again and what the book is about.
So it's called Chasing Shadows, Fighting the Monster Within. And it is a story it's a deep dive into my life on sobriety, mental health, depression, suicidal, ideation, recovery, redemption, but then learning lessons, stuff I've learned through my coaching courses and personal development and thought-provoking questions. How you can challenge yourself to become that better version of yourself. Now, it's not just about mental health and sobriety. It's about growing. It's about answering those questions. And you don't have to be someone that struggles with your mental health or someone that struggles with substances. It can just be like, hey, you know what? This is what Justin learned in that part of his life. So it's chock full of learning lessons. It's like, okay, this is where I came to this realization. This is where I should implement this, right? This is all about, okay, self-love is one of the chapters, and how self-love is the best love, and how if you love yourself, you can actually give love more to other people. The more you can actually love other people. Now, I know most of my clients have had a hard time with putting themselves first.
Yeah.
So I asked them, I'm like, okay, imagine if you don't have to do it all the time. It doesn't have to be a 24-hour thing. But imagine if you did a little for your self-care and you got to, let's say, an 8 out of 10 instead of a 6 out of 10. Well, if you're at a 6 out of 10 and you're giving 100%, what are you giving? Well, still a 6 out of 10. Now, if you did some self-care, self-love, got yourself to an 8 out of 10 and you give 100%, well, you're giving 8 out of 10 still. So there's an importance in making sure that you get your self-love and your self-care time and putting yourself first so that you can show a lot better for other people.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. That's so good and such a good message. And I'm really grateful to you too for just being open and willing to straight talk about, you know, what your journey was like. And because I think that that's the way we impact the world of others, you know, like that's literally how you do it, right? You just tell the truth and then you allow that struggle that you've been through, the things that we've gone through, the emotional roller coasters, the substance abuse, whatever, you allow that now to be what you can use to impact the life of someone else, right? For instance, your client that found her self-worth, she wouldn't have at that moment if it wasn't for you being there because of what you've been through. See what I mean? Like all of our lives are for us, not against us, right? Even the struggles, right? Do you believe that?
Yeah, well, I believe in two different things. I believe that some things happen to you, some things happen for you, but the things that happen to you, you can make for you. I actually talk about that in my book.
Yeah, I love that.
The struggles that happen to you, you make work for you. Because I have a hard time when people say, you know what, everything like that happens to you is for you. And it's like, okay, well, I just had my spouse, let's just say my spouse died, my child died. Well, that's not for me. However, if I take their memory and I build off of it, if I do this with it, you know, that can be for you. You can turn it into for you. You can be like, okay, well,
right,
maybe I wasn't being as present as I wanted to in that kid's life. Well, okay, well, now I'm going to make sure I'm more present in other people's lives. You can always take a learning lesson from it. And I learned from being vulnerable. Me being vulnerable, I've been able to help a lot of people. My last post on Monday, or one of my previous posts on Monday, is I'm a failure. And I went through everything that I failed at, you know, making rep teams, making junior hockey, applying at schools to be a speaker, for a TEDx speech that I've been passed over for, to being a present dad and spouse. I'm like, I've done all that, right? But by doing that, now I can see that where I need to still work. You know, I still have problems. You know, I can still get caught on my phone and I need to put it down.
And that's all of us. that's everybody on the planet. Yeah. You know what? You're right. I think that when I say, you know, it's for you, because I believe the same thing. When it happens to you, it's still for you. Right. So because it's just the semantics, right? It's just words. But I love that you're doing what you're doing, Justin. So before we wrap up and I let you go, I do know that I speak to a lot of my community. I have a really amazing community that listens to Straight Talk. I call them Straight Talkers. And so if they want to work with you or, you know, catch up with you or you know, really are struggling with their self-worth and want to get through that, how do they do that? Where do they follow you? How do they get your book? Like, give me all of that stuff.
Well, if you like an opportunity to work together, my website is www.justinbrien.com. That's Brien for Brian. You can follow me on Instagram at JustinBrien19. If you would like my book, it's called Chasing Shadows, Fighting the Monster Within. You can get it on Amazon. It actually reached Amazon bestseller. Great title. It almost got #1 in substance use, but I just couldn't get past that little known guy named Gabor Mate.
Yeah. Darn it.
That's
awesome. Well, Justin, thank you for coming on. Seriously, thank you for coming on and sharing your story and sharing your journey and for what you're doing to impact the lives of others, because that's what this show is about. It's about just straight talking about what we've been through and how we can utilize that to help someone else. So thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and being vulnerable and sharing all that time with us. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for giving me the time and the space to do so.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening. You are the best. Okay, I have the best podcasting community ever. I really do. And I appreciate you guys being on here. If you are looking for coaching, please make sure that you also email me at hello@straighttalknosugaradded.com. I work with women and I help them develop that business that they are envisioning in their hearts so that they can win. Thank you guys so much for being here. Love you, love you, love you. This is Neena Perez, Straight Talk, No Sugar Added. Until next time.
It's easy to lose sleep when you're worried about your health insurance plan. But when you have a family counting on you to take care of them, having the right coverage is more important than ever. That's why Anthem Blue Cross and Blue Shield is here to help. With low to no cost plans for you and your family, so you never go it alone. That's our Anthem. Click to learn more.